The Good Citizens Podcast.
Hey, welcome. This is a very special edition. Looks a little different, but coronavirus, COVID got us doing this thing a little different, but great that we could get all together. This is the Good Citizens Podcast. In case you missed it, in case you didn't know what you were watching, it's the greatest podcast on Zoom. So, we're in here. Let's do the introductions. Let's get right into it. I got my man Esquire up there looking crispy with the camera. What's up, Esquire?
What up?
All right. Then we got the doc down there, got the mic, got the headphones. She's ready to talk. You already know she's going to say some smart stuff. How you doing, Doc?
I'm good. Welcome, everybody.
All right. Dolo, the hooded man right there, the hood and the beard. He's ready to give us a controversial take. He's going to say what you guys are thinking, but you're scared to say. So what's up, Dolo? How you doing, brother?
Oh, man, it's good to see y'all, man. Good to chat with y'all once again. Unfortunate circumstances, but, it's always good to converse with y'all.
Absolutely. And I'm the coach. I'm here trying to, learn some things from these smart people, try to add my point of view and what I got to say as well. So, we're going to hop right into it. Like I said, it's a special edition. In the news, it's more frustrating news that just came out, and we thought it would be only right for us to address it. So, you know what? I'm gonna let Doc take it over and kind of lead us here to talk about Breonna Taylor and everything that's going down. So, Doc, the floor is yours.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, just like our coach said, I think these are pretty trying times for the country, but specifically the Black community and specifically our Black women right now. And so, we weren't scheduled to record our usual podcast, but I just felt it was really important that we got together and just talked about, this critical indictment that just occurred yesterday. So I just wanted to talk about that and kind of share it with the people. So we're going to just hop right into it. I have some questions for my fellas here. These are my, main support system. I've been completely conflicted and hurt and, during this process. So I've shared my thoughts with them and we're going to share them with the people. So first and foremost, what did you guys think about the indictment? Like, do you feel like 5 years and just one out of the 3 officers, you feel like that's fair?
I mean, obviously it was a joke. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised, but at the same time, I don't know, as much as I was expecting something like this, I mean, it still just pisses you off because it's like a slap in the face. It's just more blatant disrespect and disregard for Black lives, and just not even Black lives, but just humanity and all. Like, it makes no sense. I mean, yeah, yesterday when news broke, it was a difficult day for me, honestly, because that could have been my daughter, that could have been you, Doc, that could have been any one of our sisters or whoever. So just knowing how just unprotected and just unappreciated the Black woman is, and I mean, where we are is just, I don't know, it's disappointing, and like I said, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I think. Do we think it's fair? I don't even think fair can be part of the conversation. Like if you think about the things that we're currently talking about and trying to fight for, right? Like, we're sitting here saying Black Lives Matter, not like Black lives are worthy, Black lives are important, Black lives are valued, etc. Like, we're trying to fight for the fact that we even matter, right? And so fair doesn't even begin to be close to what we're even fighting for at this point. We know it's not fair, and we know that people don't think our lives matter. And so this was just another example of that. And absolutely, it wasn't fair. Absolutely, it wasn't right. And, like Dolo said, I'm not surprised, but I'm still really frustrated by it. It's pretty upsetting.
Esquire.
Yeah, I mean, I echo Dolo and Coach. I don't think there's surprise there so much. I think it's just heartbreaking to to see this repeated over and over and over again. I think it hurts even more because it's a Black woman. And, you just think about how, whether anything like this would have ever happened to a white woman in her white affluent neighborhood. And it's just hard for me to reconcile that this something like this would ever happen. Like some officers would just go shooting up somebody's home like that. They would take every precaution to make sure everybody around them heard that it was the police. This whole idea of the no-knock warrants, and it's just tragic. But I think the most tragic thing to me is that the system is operating the way that it always has, and that is in a way that devalues Black life. From the warrants that were signed off to the execution of the warrant, to the to the lack of indictments here. I think it also hurts a little more to see a Black attorney general leading the charge in this case against Black life, essentially. And I think that they built the way that he kind of came out and mentioned her name at the Republican convention, and then, kept talking about how he was promising that justice would be done. And they knew all along. It's not a complicated legal analysis. We can get into that a little later, but he knew. And I think the way that he tried to play it, to me, is despicable. It's disgusting. And then the one charge is even more disgusting because it clearly sent the message that people's property was more valuable than Breonna's life. So it's sad, man.
Yeah, I would echo what, all of you guys had to say in general. I think I was particularly upset because I think from the beginning, right, in issuing, it was a no-knock warrant, if I'm not mistaken. But the fact that it being the wrong place, the fact that they already had the suspect that they needed in custody, and then trying to actually pinpoint who's at fault here, right? It's another case where we want justice. In this case, I think what I struggled with was, who do we get the justice from? Because in this case, it's the police officers that we want to kind of bring to court and indict and have them indicted for her murder. And yeah, they were the kind of the foot soldiers that enacted it. But, I'm looking even deeper at it, like who issued the order, who issued the warrant and granted that and allowed this to even take place to begin with. And then the frustration I also had in terms of this case was obviously the fact that I think with Breonna, we, as Black women, a lot of us can see ourselves in her. She's your average, a Black woman that's working a job. She's an EMT. She looks like any sister, cousin, mother, friend that you could have in your immediate life. And so I do think, and I agree that, like what Dolo said, like this, it hits in a different type of way because we can all envision somebody like Breonna in our life. So I wanted justice. I would say it from the beginning, I didn't know exactly how to achieve that. So I actually wanted to ask you, Esquire, like in this case, even kind of placing the blame on the police officers, do you feel like there was anybody else that could have been held liable or another way to just seek justice in this case?
Well, I don't know that there's a legal mechanism to hold anyone else liable. Like, judges, I think that there are a lot of people who are at fault here. I don't think that there was sufficient evidence to warrant a search warrant of that magnitude for her home. Like, I mean, yes, the person that they were after, the Breonna's ex-boyfriend or whatever, was a drug dealer. And they said he had received at least one package from there, of which, USPS said that there was no criminal association with that package. But, it's just, she was like the down girlfriend that was sticking with her dude, like, trying to help him out. And the fact that she had to pay for it with her life is just, it's sickening. But, I think we have to start looking at, like, you know, the judge. I think the judge Mary Shaw said that she spent 30 minutes going over the warrants. Or it was like 5 search warrants, 4 or 5 search warrants that she had to go over.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think in terms of like change afterwards, like, yes, you know, I think we have to look at how, you know, search warrants are signed off on, no-knock warrants are signed off on. I think it was a good step for Louisville to ban no-knock warrants, but I don't see a legal mechanism to charging anyone because of the way the law is. So, yeah.
Do you think that's something that's even possible to develop?
I think so. I mean, I think it's possible to develop it. I think it's going to take a radical reimagination of what the criminal justice system looks like, and that is the problem. I think that we're going to need people in there who, I mean, if all those officers, Cosgrove, Mattingly, Hankinson, and just ask them to imagine having to execute a search warrant like this in their neighborhood, how they would feel about doing something like that. They wouldn't go in blindly shooting up somebody's back patio door and not caring where the bullets go. They would take every precaution. And we see the videos of white people who get stopped by the police. The other day, like, some white guy, you know, was at a car stop and just wouldn't get out the car. The officer threatened to tase him like 100 times before the guy, and then forced him out, and then the guy still shot the officer and killed him. And it's like, you know, black people don't get that same permission, you know, that same leeway. So I think that unless the system completely changes who's in charge, and it's not just skin folk, but just people with a certain mindset that understand, that are empathetic to Black life, and understand the value of Black life, regardless of what their socioeconomic status is, I think we're going to see more of the same.
Agreed.
Yeah, like you said, the problem is the system. I mean, it is deeper than just those cops that executed. Like you said, Doc, they're the foot soldiers. It's deeper than the cops that executed the warrant, deeper than the judge or whoever signed off on it. I mean, the problem is the system. And it's like, I don't know, what's going to be the tipping point for Black folks to feel like enough is enough, and what are we going to do to, like, really invoke some real actual changes? Because I mean, like Esquire said, it's just going to be more of the same, and we're just going to keep having these same occurrences where we go through the same cycle of whatever happens, and we get you know, we get up in arms for a little while. We hashtag and we march and we do everything, but it's just a cycle. And I don't know, it's just getting old. And somebody somewhere has to decide that enough is enough. And yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
So I was reading something today that was pretty much kind of commenting on just the response to what we perceive as an injustice, just people of color, you know, the Black community right now, and perceiving this indictment as another case where justice has not been, you know, achieved. And so there have been people that have kind of commented in regards to the response that the Louisville community has had, you know, to this indictment. And so I want to know what you guys think in terms of really the protests and riots and things that are in response to this. Do you feel that that's a justified response, or is there a better way that as a community we can, you know, respond to this?
I mean, we've tried everything else, honestly. I mean, yeah, we've protested and rioted before, but the difference between then and what could be now is that we cannot let up. We cannot stop. Like, until some real change, until those officers are brought to justice, until we start seeing some of the changes we actually looking for, like, we can fuck shit up for as long as we want to. We like, yeah, it's gonna take some sacrificing, but that's with any war, any fight. Like, I don't know, we have to, like I said, man, we just gotta decide when enough is enough and do something different. Because obviously what we've been doing hasn't been working, hasn't been enough. I mean, I
Agreed.
don't know.
Coach, you got anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, is there a better way? Yes. Is it justified? Yes. You know, like, sure, there's a better way, and you know, we haven't seen any of those ways work for a long time. Like, and you know, protests and violence. That's the voice of the unheard masses. Like, you have always felt like nobody's listening to you. At some point, like, it's like with your little brother and your little sisters. Like, if you talking and they're not listening to you, or you talking to your parents and they're not listening to you, at some point you jump in front of their face and say, "Hey, listen to me. Like, I need to get your attention because I got something to say." Right? Like, it's the same thing here. Like, at some point you got to do something to get people's attention. And if that means rioting and that means protesting, then we got to do something to get people's attention, because the old way is not working. So, you know, sure, there's always this idyllic better way, but until that better way becomes an actual way we can do something, then hey, it's gonna keep happening, and I get it.
The reality is this is a violent country, and it always has been, right? Like, and what we've done as American citizens is we've given the government a monopoly on that violence in a large way, right? Mm-hmm. Through the death penalty, through the military, through police. You know, we allowed them to exact violence, you know, on our citizens in order to keep peace, essentially, right? In order to keep in order to bring justice, you know, quote unquote. And the reality is that when you give somebody that monopoly and you see them abuse it and misuse it, then it makes you question whether or not they should have that monopoly in the first place. And I think that's what you're seeing. I mean, you know, they can't handle it, clearly, because they're arbitrarily picking and choosing who they want to exact violence on, depending on the color of their skin. And I think you're seeing people saying, like, well, if I can't expect justice from you, then, I mean, I'm just going to take matters into my own hands. And it's just chickens coming home to roost, you know, from what I see.
Malcolm said it best. I would say, in regards to that, completely 100% agree with that. But I think the root of the issue is, you know, when we don't uphold justice for everyone, then ultimately the American thing to do is to rebel,
right.
And by any means necessary. And in this case, it's like, I feel like if you're not involved in the immediate community affected by this, then I really feel like no one has a right to critique the manner in which a hurt community decides to respond. Period. Because again, there's a contract between the government and its people. And if the government in that case, or our policing system, the social, you know, the justice system hasn't upheld its end of the bargain, then you can't be mad when we respond in a violent or reactionary way in general. So I'm just, you know, that's what I would have to say about that. You know, the justice system has continuously failed Black people. So unfortunately, you know, this is going to be the outcome. And really, it's just, in the grand scheme of things, this reaction is minuscule.
Right. It's like, how long do you expect Black people to continue to be bullied by the system before, like you said, they rebel? And like, I feel rightfully so. I mean, but is violence the answer? I mean, maybe not, but like Sim said, it might get some attention. It might get you to understand that, you know, we not playing. We had enough. Whatever it may take. Hopefully there's another way outside of that. But I mean, we don't know yet. We'll see.
Yeah, and like we talk about, a lot of times people will talk about, you know, whenever they're getting into politics or getting into this country, we talk about how this country was founded on the basis of Christianity and religion and freedom and all these things. And like, if we're being real, like, protesting and violent protesting at that is in the basis of what this country was founded on too. Like, in 1773, you know, people in America got pissed off that the English were taxing us and we didn't have no representation. We started throwing tea off of boats. Like, you don't think the English people were like, yo, like, that's uncalled for. You should have just said something like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
they're probably pissed. And so to pretend like this hasn't happened before is just another way to say, to minimize what we're doing and say that, you know, law-abiding citizens don't do that. Like, nah, this country is founded on protesting and have so that you have the rights that you're supposed to have.
Right.
And that's what we're doing.
My favorite T-shirt says, you know, the system is not broken. It's working exactly as it was designed to.
Exactly. It's
So
not-
that's my favorite shirt.
And this case is like epitomizes that like to a T. Breonna Taylor, like to a T.
So the really last question I want to ask you guys in general is, you know, a couple days prior to the indictment, we were told that, you know, Breonna Taylor's family won this $12 million settlement. So I want to ask you, one, what you guys think about settlements, and two, do you think that in any case they somewhat detract from, you know, what we're trying to achieve as a community as a whole, and that's justice?
Let me ask you this, Doc.
Yep.
How would you feel if the officers were charged criminally, but the Breonna Taylor's family didn't get the settlement? Like, that was sort of the mode of justice, was that just, you know, criminal liability and the city didn't pay out the $12 million to their family for her death.
Well, I mean, I feel like you need both. That's, you know, both of them are crucial to achieving some form of justice. But two, my other issue would just be that, one, you can't put any monetary value on a life. But two, we talked about this in one of our earlier episodes, and I thought you made a great point there, which was this is another case where the city is paying, where tax dollars are paying for, you know, a failure in the justice system yet again. And that's the part that actually in this has really angered me the most.
Yeah. There's just no responsibility. Like, I mean, these officers took a life, and like, they're never going to pay that $12 million. And two of them, probably three of them, are never going to see jail for this. I doubt that Hankinson goes to jail for this. I mean, he'll probably get probation.
Yeah.
You know, but he'll keep his pension, I'm sure, you know, or whatever. Yeah. What y'all think, Dolo, Coach?
I mean, you can't put a price on the loved one. I mean, I know for a fact money can't buy happiness. So no matter how much money they would have given him, which wasn't enough, 12 million wasn't nearly enough. But yeah, they're never going to be over this. Just the act of what happened to their loved one. But then, as big as it's become, they'll never be able to forget this or like really, you know, get this out of their system. They're always going to be constantly reminded of it. I mean, their family's forever traumatized. I mean, 10 times more than the average person who's lost a loved one. So, I mean, just imagine the closest loved one, or just, you know, just the closest person that you've ever lost to, and then imagine that being such a public, you know, a public scenario, and having to always see it on the news, having to always be reminded of it, you know, day in, day out, year in, year out. Like, yeah, I mean, you can't put there's not a dollar amount
None.
possible that could have justified what happened.
Coach?
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. What I mean, so you got $12 million for, you know, wrongful death, basically.
Mm-hmm.
What's the $12 million for? There was no wrongful death. The cops, they didn't do anything wrong. So what do you need $12 million for? where there's a disconnect there. First off, and
It's
then
it's hush money.
it's shut up money. It's maybe you guys won't be quite as mad when we announce this, which goes to Esquire's point. They've been knowing what they were going to announce because they gave her the money already. Like, so it's shut up money. And then, like, okay, if I get wrongly imprisoned for however many years and I get my settlement, I'm still gonna be pissed off. Like, yeah, you could throw some money at me, but that doesn't change the fact that something happened. Like, it doesn't change it. And like, obviously, no amount of money is gonna bring her back. No amount of money can fix that. But like, they can give you money, or they can give you justice, or they can give you both. But the way I look at it, giving me money is going to help me to pay some bills and to, do some things. Giving me justice is going to give me a little bit more hope in my soul. That's the way I look at it. Money is not going to feel anything inside me or make me hopeful that things are going to change, because they got all the money in the world. They can just keep throwing it at people and shooting us. So, it's a cop out. I'm glad they got it, but
Something.
Yeah.
outside of that,
Yeah, like you cannot put a monetary value on a life, but if you were going to, I think our history in this country has also shown that we've put a higher monetary value on the lives of non-Black people. And there's, you can look it up. You can look up the track record. I think so. A year ago in Minneapolis, Minnesota, there was a white lady, Miss Russix, who basically, same situation, wrongful death, police officer, not quite the same. It wasn't in her home, but police were called to the scene. She walked up on the police car and they shot her. And in that case, I think they got, 20 something million in that, in that lawsuit. Again, it's a different state. I believe in Breonna Taylor's case, this is the highest payout or something in Louisville, if I'm not mistaken. But if you look at the history of our country in general, when we do put a monetary value on it, again, it shows me again that we're not talking all lives matter here. We're not valuing our lives the same. We're not saying that the Black life is the equivalent of a white life. And that, that's the injustice here. We need to hold the same value.
Yeah, and I think from a justice aspect, like the most important thing you can do at this point is to try and ensure that it doesn't happen again, because Breonna Taylor's gone. Her family will never hear her voice again. They'll never get to see her again, in this life. And it's like, for them to sit with that, nothing, no guilty verdict for officers, no $12 million, nothing is ever going to, satisfy that desire that they have in their hearts to see their loved one again. But I think the way the system is set up, because the city pays out, officers don't have any responsibility on the civil side. And then, on the criminal side, it's like when they're not charged and not convicted, it's like you're clearly sending a message that it's okay for officers to act unreasonably. It's okay for officers to, to engage in this type of conduct. And to me, it's like, aside from the legal stuff, like, the fact that they were being foot soldiers, executing a search warrant that they were legally authorized to do, I keep asking this question to a bunch of people, like, and these are people that are on the other side of the aisle who feel like officers, blue line, whatever. It's like, at some point, do you really want to live in a society where officers are just allowed, or you just see people being slaughtered like this in the street? Like, at some point, we have to start doing something different so that we don't see people just being slaughtered. Like, this is not what the police, the police have a racist history, but this is not what we want police to be in our society. Like, I don't want to live in a society where I have to turn on my TV and see people being slaughtered, people being shot without weapons, shot with weapons. I just don't want to see it.
Each officer letting off, 14, 10, multiple. Like, that was the part to me that was ridiculous too. It's like, there's no return fire at this point. I know that the boyfriend shot once. I think one of the officers got hit in the leg. But at that point, then the response and the overreaction, like, it's ridiculous. And that's where the wanton endangerment charge came in, which again is just trash, because like, we don't care about Breonna Taylor's life. We care more that they, other bullets hit the neighbor's home, right? Like, come on.
Tragic, man.
So before, we go, I just wanted to kind of see if anybody had any final thoughts about what's going on, anything you want to say to the people. I'm going to start at the bottom. Let's start with Dolo.
I mean, like I said, man, that at what point is enough enough? You gotta ask yourself that. You gotta just ask people around you that, and yeah, like I said on a previous episode, the solidarity. Like, we need to come together as Black folks and just really decide what we're gonna do about what's going on, what's been going on. I mean, it's draining. Like I said, it's draining. It's been a frustrating couple of days. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What about you, Coach?
Yeah, Black women, you are worthy. You are important. You are valued. You are loved. We need you. This world, civilization doesn't happen without you. Like, you're the mothers of civilization. You're the trendsetters. You're the ones that we go to when we need somebody to take care of us. We need an example of a strong woman. Like, that's y'all. And I will shout it from the rooftops, from the mountaintops, from anywhere I can. We love y'all. We need y'all. And we're going to keep fighting. Like, we're going to keep fighting. I'm sorry. My heart breaks for you. I'm sorry this had to happen again. It's not right. It's not fair. And we just going to keep fighting and hoping for change. But we love y'all.
Thank you for those words, Sim. Appreciate that. As Black women, we love you guys as well. And that's why I tell y'all in the morning, I say, my kings, like, I appreciate the support here. Like, I wanted to have this conversation today, so I appreciate you guys coming together, making time to do this, because it was a lot on my heart today. Esquire, will you have any final thoughts for the people?
Yeah, I was gonna say pretty much like what Sim said. Man, my heart aches for Black women, and really put the onus on Black men. Like, we gotta do better. Like, we gotta, and I'm going off of, like, I'm still thinking about this Tory Lane stuff and him announcing that he's about to tell the world what's really happened months after it happened. And it's just like, the timing of it at a time like this is just trash. It's just trash. And I mean, I just feel like, this is not a time to, get divisive and whatever, but I just want to implore us as Black men to continue to support our women, and let them know and treat them like the queens that they are. And just really, really heartbroken for Breonna Taylor's family. So,
yeah, absolutely. So the last thing I just wanted to say was, the other thing that's kind of been heavy on my heart is just looking at the state of the country right now. Like, I know we have an election going on, but you turn on the news, you see your president at a rally, you see that those people that are in positions of power or authority and the comments that they have to say in regards to this situation, it doesn't stress unity. It doesn't stress empathy, right? It's completely devoid of emotion, really, and understanding. There's no empathy there. Understanding that a community is hurting. Like, our community is just, not our community, but our country in itself is more divided than ever. And instead of using the opportunity to kind of voice understanding at the rage and the hurt that is felt within the Black community, it's another political ploy, and people are focusing on the wrong things in the response to the situation. which again, who are we to critique the response when there's a community that's hurting? Like, who are you to actually critique how they want to respond to that? I think looking at the entire country, there's no support there, but I think what's been promising is looking at the Black community in itself. I've seen, the brothers on my feed and social media and things, just with the amount of love and support there. And that's the part that has given me a little more solace and hope in this whole situation. So appreciate you guys and appreciate the support and love that you guys have provided. Breonna Taylor's family, unfortunately, hasn't achieved justice in this situation. We waited this long and didn't achieve justice, but it's another example that the system has to change. And I agree with Dola. We have to come together and figure out how to do that. So make sure we go vote. And again, more importantly, focus on your local elections as well, because that matters and your voice matters in your community. Thanks for joining us, guys. So we're going to call it a wrap. We'll see you for the next formal, official Good Citizens episode.
Coming soon.
And real.
All right, y'all.
The Good Citizens Podcast.